Welcome to Flipped Classroom. Our unit today is directed numbers, and we are looking at adding and subtracting integers. Our learning intention for this video is we are learning how to add and subtract integers, and our success criteria is I am successful when I can add and subtract a positive integer to another integer and add and subtract a negative integer to another integer. So let's think back. What is an integer? Now, if you're unsure, you can click on the card above and look at the previous directed numbers video. But an integer is a positive or negative whole number or the number 0, because 0 is neither positive nor negative. So here's our number line, and all of those are integers, and they go on forever into the positive, and they go on forever into the negative. So some examples are 4, -5, +8, and 0. Now the 4 is a positive integer. We don't have to write the sign when it is a positive number. Sometimes it does make sense to write the sign, as it does help us, and we will see that a little bit later. So adding and subtracting positive integers. With positive integers, we will start with the first number that's in front of the operation, and then if we're adding, we will move up the number line or to the right of the number line, and when we're subtracting, we move down or to the left of the number line. And it's always useful to have that number line there. So when we're adding, we're moving to the right, and when we're subtracting, we're moving to the left. Here's some examples that we can do. Now I'm going to put my thinking up the top, and I'm going to write down the bottom what I'm going to be showing my teacher so that they understand what I'm doing, and they will be able to see that in my workbooks. So I will start off by drawing the number line that I need. Now, with the questions that you might be doing in class, you might need to do different parts of the number line, or you might need to extend it one way or the other. But for these questions, I just need from positive to -10. So for each one of these questions, I'm going to find the first value on that number line, and then I'm going to move up if I'm adding, or down if I'm subtracting the number. So let's start with the first one. We've got 4 + 2, so I'm going to start at that +4. And because we're adding, we're going to move to the right, so I'm going to move up 2 positions, and I get to 6. So I'm going to write down in my book that 4 + 2 = 6. And my teacher will be able to see what I'm doing. For the next question, I'm going to start at -10, because that's the first integer there. And now I'm adding 6 to that. So I'm going to start at -10. I'm going to move right or up 6 positions, and I'm going to get to -4. I'm still in the negatives because I haven't quite added enough to get across that 0 number. Now that could be similar if you are traveling in a lift. If you start -10 floors underground and you go up 6 floors, you're still 4 floors underground. For question C, we're going to start at -3, but this time we're subtracting, so we're going to move down the number line. We're going to go down 5 positions. So we end up at -8. So I'm going to write -3 - 5 = -8. And for the last question, we've got 2 - 3. So again, I'm starting at that 2. I'm going to move down 3 positions, and I'm going to end up at -1. So you can see we've crossed through that 0 point. Now that could be like money in your bank. So if you had $2 in your bank and you took out $3, you'd end up overdrawing or pulling out too much money, and you'll end up with -$1 in your bank account. So adding and subtracting negative integers is very similar to adding and subtracting positive integers. We just need to do a little change first. So if we're adding a negative number, this is the same as subtracting a positive number. So here I have 5 + -3, and that's the same as 5 - 3. Now, subtracting a negative number is the same as adding a positive number. So I've got 5 - -2, and this is really the same as 5 + 2. you'll notice in both examples, I've put that negative number in brackets so that I'm not confusing that negative sign with the operation beforehand. Now, for both of these examples, we've had to change that operation and remove the sign, and that is how we deal with negative integers when we're adding and subtracting. So let's have a look at a couple of examples here. So here we go, we've got our 4 questions again, and the steps are very similar. So again, I'm going to do my thinking and my writing on the page. So step 1, exactly the same as before, I'm going to draw up a number line. So here's my number line. Step 2, I'm going to make a little bit of a change though. I'm going to combine the operation and the sign. And then step 3, I'm going to find that first value again. And then step 4, I'm going to be moving up if I'm summing or moving down if I'm subtracting. So let's look at the first example. So the first example is -2 plus -3. Now, remember when we combine that operation and that sign together, we really get -2 minus 3. So I'm going to start at that -2 and I'm going to move down 3 positions. And that'll take me to -5. So in my book, I'll write -2 plus -3 equals -5. The next one, again, I'm going to look at this. I see 3 plus -7, so I need to modify that sign and merge in with that operation. And I get 3 minus 7. So I'm going to start at the 3 and I'm going to take away 7. So I'm going to start at that 3 and then move down 7 positions. And I end up at -4. So this time I'm going to write 3 plus -7, because that's our question, equals -4. And that's our answer. The next one is -5 plus -2. So because I've got that -2 there, I'm going to have to change the sign and I'm going to get -5 plus 2. So I'm going to start at that -5 point and I'm going to add 2 to that. And so that means I'm going to be moving up that number line and I get to -3. So I'm going to write my answer down again. -5 minus -2 equals -3. And for the last one is very similar again. So I'm going to get -1, but the negative and the minus will then cancel out of that -4 and become +4. And so I'm going to start at that -1 and then I'm going to move up 4 positions. And that will take me to 3. So I'm going to write down -1 minus -4 equals 3. Now I could write down equals +3, but remember we don't have to put in that sign when we're looking at just positive numbers. So our reflection today is, why does the sign of the second value in an equation affect the operation of that equation? And where could this be useful in a real-world application? We gave a couple of examples in this video, but there are plenty more to think about. As always, like the video and subscribe for more videos on maths.